I'm your host, Dawn Sellers. It was such a pleasure to sit down with Alexandra Helgerson to talk about her documentary film, Age Group Winner. A musician, actor, and now filmmaker, Lexi started out making a film about her father to understand him and why he runs so much. But what she ended up with was a story about life's challenges, not only those of her father, Jay, a stay-at-home father of 3 girls, who was the first person to run 52 marathons in 52 weeks, each of them completed in under the 3-hour goal he set for himself, but also her own as she navigated a cancer diagnosis in the midst of working on this film. I learned that there is much more to Lexi's story and that it really is just beginning. With a debut album set to release later this year alongside screening Age Group Winner across the country, Alexandra is a lovely and talented human. I hope you'll enjoy this episode as much as I enjoyed meeting her. So I'm here today with Alexandra Helgerson to talk about the movie that you just made, Age Group Winner. So welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm happy you're here today. First of all, you didn't start out as a filmmaker. So tell me a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Sure. I started out as a basketball player, I suppose, and worked in publishing briefly in New York City a long time ago, and began my career as an actor about 15 years ago. And somewhere along the way, in the last 10 years ago, I began this documentary about my dad called Age Group Winner. And like many films, they can take a long time to finish. And in between those 10 years, I've made music videos. I've made a couple other short films that I've written and or produced or directed. And I've acted on stage and in films. And I've made a lot of music, too.
Fun. So you decided to make this documentary about your dad, who sounds like an amazing man, because he planned to run 52 marathons in 1 year,
yes.
Which is like one a week.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's amazing. And so had you thought about filmmaking before that?
Before starting Age Group Winner? Yeah, I was living in LA at the time, and I was working at the New York Film Academy in Burbank, and there I was surrounded by so many illustrious instructors and filmmakers, and there was a library there with loads of DVDs. And as an actor early in my career, I'm trying to get work, and I think I was really inspired by learning about film and films I love and who made them, and then realizing oh wow, who's my dad, and he did this really cool thing that no one else has done, and what if I pick up the camera? Yeah.
And so you followed him around for this year, training?
So he in 1980, he set the world record, becoming the first person to run a marathon a week for a year.
Oh, okay. So that was in 1980 that you did that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So what kind of, was there notoriety around that for him?
Yeah. He was on Good Morning America. There was a ton of notoriety, a lot of press, local newspapers, national newspapers. It was before the internet, so he had to plan. It was hard logistically for him to get around the country to find a marathon every week. And in fact, it was maybe number 48 or 49 at the end of 1979, because he finished in January of 1980. The San Francisco Marathon Association put on a special marathon just for him to run, so he could continue his streak. And each race, and the other unique or kind of special thing about that year in his running, he had for himself to complete each marathon in under 3 hours, which is...
That's fast.
Yeah, it's very fast. And maybe only 5% of people who run marathons will ever run under 3 hours. Yeah. So that was just his personal goal that he was able to achieve.
Yeah, I finished one marathon and I wasn't even close to...
Wow, you did? Which one?
Yeah. In Portland.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was much younger then. But,
that's great.
Yeah, so you were young when he did this.
I wasn't even born.
You weren't even born when he did this?
I wasn't even born.
Oh,
yeah.
So when you grew up knowing that he was this famous runner, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I have 2 sisters, and we all took to running. It was just kind of in our blood who we were. Yeah. My mom's run marathons too. She's not really a runner anymore, but she and my dad met running a marathon. And so, yeah, running was just around. But I didn't think as a kid, like, oh, my dad did set this world record. He just ran.
He was just your dad.
He was just my dad who ran. Yeah.
And he ran every day.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes twice a day. Sometimes 3 times a day. He still does.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so at some point then you decided to find out why he was running?
Yes, to find out why he was running and to find out, like, what made him run and just who and why how is the why connected to the who? He was a stay-at-home dad. Both my parents were really present and involved in, and they were good parents, like involved in my sisters and my life and upbringing, and still are. But my dad was, the stay-at-home dad, and which was also unusual for the 90s, and and then my parents split divorced when I was 13 in 8th grade, but my dad remained very, very present. And so I also, when I quit playing sports to kind of begin a life in the arts and quit my kind of fancy magazine job to begin a very uncertain life as an actor, I found, maybe this is common, for all of us, like going through becoming adults or in my early mid-20s, I'm like, how do I communicate with my dad if it's not through sports? And if I don't want to associate with sports right now, how can we communicate? Like, I want to talk about all these other things, but I can't really talk about those things with him. So it was also an act, or making the film for me is an act of, I've learned an act of seeing my dad and like accepting him for who he is, which is, the process has also helped me better see and accept myself and to show my love and appreciation for him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's quite a switch from sports to the arts. Totally different.
Yeah.
So yeah, kind of discovering how to communicate with your dad through your new path.
Yeah. And and even though they're very different, in many ways I love it when I find similarities or when I'm able to utilize like technical skills or fundamentals that I worked so hard on as a basketball player, and when I'm able to apply those fundamentals to the craft of acting or repetition or practice or technique of being a singer-songwriter.
It's a lot of discipline.
Yeah.
The discipline, I think, is the same.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so how did you approach this idea with your dad?
Gosh. It was kind of an ever-evolving idea, and one that he wasn't always comfortable with, nor was my immediate family always comfortable with, and I first approached his friends, like his immediate friend group, because I also, you realize like we're all impermanent, that we're all going to die, and I thought, what if one day I come home to Portland and some of these people aren't here anymore. So I interviewed all of his friends. I didn't end up using any of that footage in the film, but I just kind of continued the conversation of like, how far can I like go with him in terms of what I want to show or what feels right for my artistic expression and his privacy
and
at the same time.
And respect his privacy at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, because running is a solo activity, right? And so I imagine that he probably is very private, probably uses that time for himself.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's why most runners do that.
Yeah.
That's kind of generalizing, but I think, so what did he think of the idea when you finally came around to that, to say, hey, I want to make this film about you?
I don't know if I ever said it in those words, or like, I'm just going to film a little, Dad. Like, don't mind me. I'm just going to film. It's about...
Hey there. If you're enjoying this episode of Oregon Indie Film, don't go anywhere. We've got more great conversation coming up. And if you believe in uplifting local voices and the power of independent storytelling, we'd love your support. Hit that follow button, share the show with a friend, or leave us a quick 5-star review. It makes a big difference. Want to get more involved? Reach out at OregonIndieFilm@gmail.com. Now, back to the episode.
And it is about me, too,
right.
as much as it is about him, so I could kind of alleviate. But then it is about him.
Right.
He's been very gracious at the end of the day in allowing me the space to do that. And I think part of him really enjoys being on camera because he has a lot to say and he is very charismatic and he can be very funny and he's quirky and the camera really likes him. So there is that like aspect, which is great for the movie.
Maybe he learned a little about himself.
Yeah,
in the
maybe
process,
so.
too.
Maybe so. He and then at the same time, he sometimes will push back, like you can see in the trailer or at other places in the film, like turn the camera off, or I don't want this. But now he can laugh about
That's
it.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, and it's so successful. I mean, he's, he has to be really proud of what you've accomplished with the film. So tell me about, like, the process of making the film. So it was over 5 years that you did this.
Yes.
That's a long time.
Yes. It's been 10 since I started, actually. And I thought I would finish in 2020 with... my dad running the Boston Marathon that year because that would mark 40 years from when he set the world record. And it would be... I went to Boston to film him in 2018 and in 2019, and I thought, like, 2020 will be the one. It'll be great. And then, of course, COVID. Right. And he still ran a virtual Boston Marathon that year in Forest Park. So I really sat down to start editing or kind of going through archival stuff. Like I use a lot of voicemails that he's left me over the last decade. I use his voicemails to help tell the story. And so I did a lot of archival work in 2020, and then my former partner and I moved to Portland in 2021, and then I really kind of was like, okay, what is this? I need to edit this and finish it. And then a few months into editing, like late summer of 2021, my dad came over to our apartment with like 2 yellow recycling bins, the old Portland recycling bins, full of childhood photos and like old photos from his upbringing in Wichita, Kansas that I'd never seen before, and another bin full of all of the press and scrapbooks from 1979-80. And I was like, Dad, I've been working on this for 6 years now. Like, this is, thank God you gave me these.
This seems like the moment when he realized, hey, this is going to be a thing.
Yeah, and for me too, of like, wow, this really can here's some glue.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Like a treasure trove in the recycle bins.
Exactly. Very J. So I kept editing, kind of like thought I had finished it. Was working with my former partner, like, who's a musician, and he was helping me a lot with the sound and the audio, and we did everything at home. And it was just me, like, doing all of the color, all of everything, finding the rights to old news footage from the mid-'80s. And
well, 21 was probably a good year to do that, right? Because we were still in lockdown at that point.
Yeah.
And kind of stir crazy at that point.
Yeah.
So, wow, that's a great thing to work on. But I imagine that there were challenges with the old footage and the sound, trying to do that at home alone. What was that like?
The footage... So I got this footage in part from the Paley Center for Media, and also in part from the Cake TV in Wichita, which I think is the ABC affiliate. And I just, like, through random Google searches, had found that they had this hour-long segment about the Wichita Marathon in 1985 that just happened to feature my dad. And for years, I tried to get this footage. And one of the key media people at the Paley Center was like, "Oh, sure, where do you want to view it, in LA or in New York?" And I was like, "No, I want it. I don't think anybody else needs this footage but me." And I had to get, signed off then from Cake TV in Wichita, and they were like, "Well, it's like, what was the fee? I don't know. Maybe it was a couple. It was exorbitant, like, because they're used to charging Netflix or A&E for, like, murder mysteries and stuff, and for the 4 minutes of footage I wanted, it was going to be like $7,000 or something, and I was like, I can't. And they were like, "Oh, okay, and we can adjust." And they were able to give me a really great deal that I just was like weeping for their generosity. And then actually getting the footage and, like, seeing my dad and hearing his voice at that time, I was also like, oh my gosh, this is just priceless. And that also helped kind of guide the film in my editing process, just to have this outside voice of news footage showing him in his early years of marathon running.
And a big boost to the creation of the film.
Yeah.
Like when you found that. Yeah. I imagine that was energizing to be like, oh yeah, now I know where I'm going with this. Yeah, that's great. And so were there any other challenges other than the footage and sound and creating this during the pandemic?
Yeah.
Which is obviously a challenge. But what else did you find challenging about putting this together? Because it's kind of a unique project. Yeah,
I think, aside from getting cancer, I also recently went through chemotherapy in the last year. And so the film as it is now, which is finally complete, like, has an added component of my experience in going through chemo and how my dad kind of turned the camera on me. And
so what year was that?
That was in 2023 and 2024.
Okay, so you hadn't finished the film yet.
I thought I had finished it. I thought I had finished it.
There was more to the story.
Yeah, there was more to the story. And then with that, my ability to bring in different collaborators to help me with the sound, or to fix music that I couldn't get the rights to, or to help me with graphics. John Dombrowski was, like, critical in helping remix and record new audio. And Ryan Graves has colored everything and helped with graphics. Maggie Kirkland here in Portland, like, filmed an interview with me post chemo, and my friend and producer of my album, Alex Kallenberger, also in Portland, he helped me record and produce an additional song that I use in the film. And so just being able to like let go of feeling like I needed to have all of the creative control really, really helped the film feel.
It gives you goosebumps to think about how that happened and the ongoing story of that. Wow. So, yeah. I don't know where to go from there. Yeah. That's amazing. So overall it was 5 years then that you finished the film. So you thought you were finished.
Yeah. I
like after a couple of years. But,
I thought I was finished in 2022-ish, I think you were speaking about challenges. I think the challenge for me was to tell a story that wasn't just a home movie.
Right.
To show a portrait of a man who's did this really amazing thing in 1980, and he's still doing it 45 years later, running marathons and competing against himself while going through all that one does in life, like the aging or relationships, just living all the questions that we have, trying to be a parent, trying to be a partner, a friend. And so that was a big challenge of what do I do to tell this story in a way that is universal.
Well, and the story really became so much more. So it started out being about your dad and his running and why, and you getting to know him. But then it ultimately became about life in general, and living through, getting through things that are difficult with your cancer diagnosis, and with him then helping you through that, I'm sure, and having this film, knowing that this film then needed to tell more of a story. Yeah. So he turned the camera on you at that point.
Yeah, he did. He can be camera happy himself, definitely, and he can pepper me with questions, and he likes to document things too, as we all do. But he was. All my family were very involved. Dean, my former partner, was very involved. It was a kind of a traumatic time for everyone.
I bet. Yeah. And so you finished the film. Did you fundraise for the film, or did you fund it yourself?
Both, yes and yes.
Yeah,
yes
as most independent filmmakers do, right?
Yeah.
So what was your fundraising like, if you want to share that?
Yeah, I used Indiegogo, and I did an Indiegogo campaign pretty early on, like a couple years into the film, and it was good, but I think it has taught me that I didn't really know what I was doing,
None of us do.
I know.
None of us do at all.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah, I think, like, I had an idea of what I know I wanted, but I wasn't really able to articulate that so well at the time.
In your fundraising.
Yeah. So it helped me. It helped me, absolutely.
Yes.
But fundraising on crowdfunding, can be really challenging in a full-time job.
It is.
In and of itself. So it's it was great though too. I think the great thing about it is being able to connect with people you know and don't know about telling a story and coming together in that way, so that others can be a part of the process and feel like, oh yeah, I helped with that, or I'm so happy to see that this is getting out or being made, or I've felt that way with projects I've been able to contribute to.
I think that's one of the amazing things about independent filmmakers in Oregon, and specifically in Portland, is that we do that. Like a film, you see someone struggling to make their film, or working really hard, maybe not struggling, but working really hard to tell their story and make their film, and you're like, hey, I want to help. What can I do to help?
Yeah.
And so it sounds like you had some people step forward and do that for you.
Yeah.
And Ryan Graves came on as a producer. So shout out to Hibernation Films and Ryan Graves for doing that. But you also had help with sound. And then you mentioned someone else that came forward and helped out.
Yes, Maggie Kirkland helped with cinematography, and my music friend and collaborator and producer, Alex Kallenberger, helped me with a new song. A friend in LA, Marcus Buser, who's an amazing musician. We have 2 of his songs in the movie now, and Dean Viverito, my former partner, his music is in the film too, and it's definitely like, I mean, as anything is, as any creative, well, filmmaking anyway, it's a team effort.
Definitely, yeah. And so all of the music that's used in the film is from people that you know, or yourself,
except for Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's one great piece of his, which I'm very glad to have. But music, as you know, like from before 100 years ago or so, is in the public domain, so it's much easier and much more affordable to find recordings. But also if they really help tell a story, that's great.
Right, if they help tell the story, it's worth pursuing and getting those rights for sure. But it's great when you're a musician and you know musicians that can lend their talent.
Totally. I love to be able to. I would love. I'd be careful saying this because it's so hard to make a film, but I have ideas of like other stories that might be worth telling, and where they're friends of mine who have songs or pieces of music that I want to have make the movie, so I can just put their music in the movie.
It's only the beginning. It's one film is what it takes. It's there's so many stories to tell. And so you're on the film festival circuit now. Well, actually, you're screening, aren't you, around the Northwest? So are you in festivals?
No,
not in festivals.
Not right now.
You chose to screen your film.
Yeah.
And are you doing that yourself, or do you have someone who is working on setting those up?
Ryan Graves, as my producer, is arranging all of the screenings, and the theaters have been largely really receptive, and have, like, Corvallis has extended our run, and I think that's what we're doing.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I think it's a really it's a story that can really connect with a lot of Pacific Northwesterners because of the running and the family. I think it probably connects, even though he grew up in, was it Kansas? So all of this really happened in Kansas, but the film is now in Oregon. Is that right?
Yes. I mean, my dad has lived in Portland for almost 35 years. The film takes place in Portland and in Wichita and in Boston.
Oh, okay.
And I filmed some in Sacramento too, but Greta Gerwig would know that. Or just seeing not everybody would know, oh, that's McKinley Park, but Yeah.
So I can see how it's been successful. Like it really connects with a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's a great story. And
Thanks.
and so you're headed to, is it Bend this weekend? You're this week, you're screening Bend.
Yeah.
And then where from there?
Then we are in Tacoma on June 10th, and then we are in Eugene on June 14th, and that is a special show because I'm going to introduce the film with a handful of songs from my upcoming album, and share how they're connected to my process of finishing the film. And then we're taking a break because I'll be on vacation, but then July, I think we're actually going to be, we'll be elsewhere in Colorado and California and the East Coast later August. So dates will fill up.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. And so what's your ultimate dream for this film? Like if you could dream big, what would it be for this film?
I would love to show Age Group Winner in New York and in Los Angeles to sold-out theater. And then I would love for just thousands of people to watch it when it's streaming. I mean, but it's great to see it in the theater, you know? Yeah. So, but yeah.
Well, and it's, we all may be impermanent, but film is forever. Right?
Yeah.
So it's great that you're creating that you've created this to kind of be a lasting story. So what's next for you after this film? I mean, this is probably going to take a lot of your time, right?
Yeah.
While you're getting it screened everywhere. But what else are you working on?
Well, now beginning to release singles from my album and planning that, so kind of all the marketing and like background promotional work that goes into releasing music, which I'll be working on, and a film I acted in before my cancer diagnosis is called Happy Ending, and it was made here in Oregon too, and it's coming out June 27th. Nice. It will be streaming, so I'm excited for that. And I would like to act more, so that's what I would like to do.
Yeah. What kind of roles are your favorite?
Oh gosh,
drama, comedy. Do you have a favorite?
No, the one that pays the bills.
Yeah. And maybe gives you some, opportunity to really dive into a good character.
Oh yeah.
And so your album is going to be released. Mm-hmm. Do you have a date for that?
Not yet. I will release my first single in about a month from now, but we're finalizing the date, but I'd say mid-late June. The album itself, probably September, October. Yeah, nice. Another single in late July or so.
Yeah. And you have music already on Spotify.
I do,
out there that people can download. Yeah. And you have a YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. And is your mostly music on YouTube, or what are you putting on your YouTube?
It's some music videos up there. The trailer for Age Group Winner is up there. That's what's there. Yeah. I have a couple short films on Vimeo, just remembering that.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I'll pop all those links into the show notes. You also have a Patreon.
Yes.
If anyone wanted to join that,
yes.
Subscribe to that.
Yes.
Is there anything else that you want to talk about or share about your film or your career?
Gosh. I'm really grateful. I'm really excited. I'm really excited to meet people on the road with Age Group Winner and see people I know or see people who've been hearing about this film for a really long time, and I can finally say, we've done it, here it is, thank you for listening to me for all of these years. My gosh, that was a great thing about it playing at Cinema 21.
Yes.
About 10 days ago, which was sold out, and we had to have extra seats, and some people surprised me, that I hadn't seen in decades, who did give to my Indiegogo campaign, who live out of town, who came hours away to see it, and I'm like, wow, that felt like really great full circle. So to be able to just share it with those who've been along with me for the ride, I'm really excited for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your health is good now.
My health is good. Thank you. Yeah. I am cancer-free.
That's
Thank
wonderful.
you.
Yeah. It does give you a new perspective, I think, on things when you've gone through something like that. But it sounds like you have an amazing career ahead of you.
Thank you, Dawn.
You're off to a great start.
Thank you.
And I really appreciate you being here and all of the work you put into your film, because I know it's not easy. I wish you all the best.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening. If you'd like to learn more about Age Group Winner and where it might be screening in your area, check out agegroupwinner.com or follow Alexandra Helgerson on Instagram. Look for the links in the show notes. I also recommend adding her to your Spotify playlist. Her music really is fantastic. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to leave a 5-star review and share it with your friends. It really helps us reach more indie film lovers. Want to support the podcast by becoming a guest or a sponsor? Reach out at OregonIndieFilm@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.